So welcome everyone. My name is Jerome Braggs. I am a spiritual teacher, medical intuitive medium, channel, and coach. And today I wanted to talk to you about the three secrets they're still not telling you about living the law of attraction. Today is going to be a very interactive conversation. So if you're just joined and you have questions, please put your questions in the bottom right hand where it says type something cool. Please type your cool questions there and I will be responding to those. As well as if you know that you want to share something, you really want to share something, press the, when I'm going to open some seats up here in a second, and press the open seat. And you can join in live and have a live conversation with me around what you've learned about the law of attraction, or especially about some of the things that I'm going to share here in a second. So to start off, I like to start all of my things with a little mindfulness exercise. I want us to take maybe just a minute to kind of center ourselves. For some of you, it's really early in the morning. For some of you, it's late in the evening. And we've had a whole day of things in our minds. We've had a whole day of things in our consciousness. We have a whole day of things in our energy, and our energy can be pulled here and there. So we want to center ourselves right here, right in this moment, so that we can be open to receiving what our soul most wants us to hear from this conversation. It may not be everything that resonates with you, but you are here on divine assignment. There's no, coincidence that you're here. This is a synchronistic arrival, and there is something in this conversation that is going to benefit you, and we want to be most open to receiving and hearing that. So I just want to start with a brief meditation or mindfulness, if you will. Wherever you are, if you close your eyes, kind of get comfortable, and we're just going to do some deep breathing for a few minutes and center ourselves in this space. So close your eyes, get comfortable in the chair or the stool or the couch or on the bed or wherever you currently are watching this particular blab, or even if you're watching it via replay. And you just want to take a deep breath in and breathe out. And a deep breath in, breathing in the air of this moment, and breathing out everything that's happened before this moment. And breathing in one more time together, and breathe out. And as you continue to breathe in deeply, we give ourselves permission to be right here, right now in this moment. We ask our soul to open us up enough to receive whatever message we are here to receive, whatever message is for our highest growth, our highest evolution, our highest healing, our highest unfoldment, and for the manifestation of our highest desires. We know that all is well, and so are we, and we're ready to have fun and evolve. And so it is. So if you bring your attention back to this moment, back to this space. So again, my name is Jerome Braggs. I'm a spiritual teacher and intuitive medium, and I work with people all around the world, specifically on how to help them heal their lives, bodies, or businesses, how to help them wake up more deeply into the truth of who they really are as a spiritual being, and how to create what they really, really want on a more consistent basis in their lives. And as I've worked with people over the past few years, I've probably worked with thousands of people by now. And something that I was beginning to notice over the last probably 2 or 3 years is that there were a lot more, there's been a huge kind of boom of people becoming aware of and studying and applying the law of attraction, which for all of you all who may be on this call, if you know about it, you know a little bit about it. If you don't know, the law of attraction is the foremost governing law, universal law that governs all of our lives. It governs all consciousness, all points of consciousness, whether you're a human being or an animal or a plant or anything, that has a consciousness. The law of attraction is the governing law of all consciousness. And what it basically says is your thoughts become the shape, they become the foundation, the building blocks of your reality. The thoughts that you hold consistently, that you think more consistently, become shape into the life that you live. So thoughts become things, so think the good ones. And there's been a whole bunch in the past probably 10 years, there's been a whole revolution around the law of attraction. There have been many books, have been the public rise of teachers like Abraham Hicks. There's been the movie The Secret that has come out. There's been several different workshops and seminars now that people have attended, and there's been many different teachers now that have come out into the forefront about the law of attraction and how to help people create the lives that they really want to live. And one of the things I was seeing, though, as I've had worked with clients all over, is these people have gone to the workshops, they've read the books, they've done the retreats, they've done all of these different things, and they still weren't creating the life, a juicy, delicious, they still weren't living a juicy, delicious life. They still weren't living a life that made them feel like most alive, and they weren't living a life that felt in alignment and in alignment with and expressive of who they really are. And they were confused, and a lot of people felt beaten down, and they felt like they were at an end block. They had tried everything. They had done the vision boards. They had done the affirmations. They had done all the tips and the tools and the exercises, and they were able to get small things, but there was still this large portion of their lives that didn't taste good to them. And so they would come to me as kind of the last resort to help them with that. And there was something I was seeing as I was helping more people, that there were three main things that people didn't really understand about the law of attraction, that was keeping them from really just kind of unlocking their highest, I don't want to say the highest potential, but the highest vibrational point of their life. And I know Rick of Rock asked, he's confused over Abraham Hicks. Abraham Hicks they are spiritual teachers. They are what people would call channeled. It's Esther Hicks channels a non-physical consciousness named Abraham. And they are probably the foremost teachers in the world on the law of attraction. They have several New York Times bestselling books. Many of the spiritual teachers out there, like Wayne Dyer, like Louise Hay, Marianne Williamson, many of the high-level spiritual teachers that you may know of, Oprah even, herald Abraham Hicks as one of their greatest teachers. The Abraham Hicks is probably the teacher of the great teachers. So if you're not familiar with them, I highly recommend them. You can Google them. They're all over the place. They have tons of YouTube videos all over the place that you can get and just watch and get a taste of who they are. So I would go back to, before we continue with that, how many of you all are already familiar with the law of attraction? Because I don't want to be I don't want to continue on if I need to kind of go back and kind of talk about what the law of attraction is a little bit more deeply than what I already have. So if you're on the call, on the blab here, could you just type something in and kind of let me know, are you new to the law of attraction? Have you studied a little bit? Are you a master at it? Just let me know kind of where you are. I see Rick says he's familiar. Black Enigma says, I know of the principles. Rick says, I have everything because of it. Absolutely. Actually, we all have everything because of it. We just don't consciously know that. But I'm glad you consciously know that, Rick. I'm glad you're actually being able to consciously use it. So I'll just continue on, since most of you here kind of have a basic understanding of the law of attraction. So for the primary people that have heard about the law of attraction, have done the works and have, read the books or have done workshops or have attended some seminars or studied under a law of attraction teacher, one of the primary things that, you use is, you're looking at your belief system, making sure that your belief system is in alignment with what you want. So let's say that you want to be wealthy and you're currently not, then if you study the law of attraction, that you cannot get wealth if you continue to hold a belief of poverty, if you continue to hold a belief that you have lack, that there's less than enough for you, right? So you have to begin to change that belief system. And there's lots of tools and exercises and tricks and things that you can use to help you shift that belief system. But that's one of the main things, is you have to shift the belief. The other part is your vibration. How are you feeling? The frequency the energy frequency that you're sending off to the universe is what the universe is responding to help you create your life. So what I mean by vibration, what I mean by frequency, and then the energy frequency is really how you feel, like your emotional state at any given moment. So if you're feeling disempowered, then the frequency that you're sending out, the vibration that you're sending out to the universe is one of disempowerment. I am a disempowered person. And the universe has to match that, because the universe cannot buck your vibration. It cannot send you a different reality that is not directly in alignment with the vibration that you're sending out. So if you have a vibration of I am disempowered, then the reality that you must live, and what I mean by reality is the relationships that come to you, the events that come to you, and the experiences that come to you, all must solidify that feeling for you. Because again, this is one of the secrets early, but we're going to talk about it in depth here in a second. Is the universe is not meant to make you crazy. So if you believe something and you feel something is true for you, then it must be. The universe must make that true for you, because it's not here to make you crazy. And if you believe something that was not also did not also have evidence in your life somewhere, in the reality of your life, then that would kind of make you crazy. Right, that would make you kind of in the insanity mode, and the universe is not here to help you become insane. It's actually here to prove to you that whatever you're vibrating, whatever you're believing, must be true. We're going to talk about that here in just a second. But that's kind of the basic things. It's the beliefs that you hold and the vibration that you're sending out are the foundation. They're the building blocks for the reality that you get to live. So how you feel, which is really created by how you're thinking. You know, you can't feel disempowered if you don't have beliefs, or you're not thinking continuous thoughts about, you know, that something is against you, or that you can't change something, or that life is not on your side, or something like that. You can't feel that way if you don't have thoughts about that. You can't feel beautiful and wealthy and successful if you don't have beautiful and wealthy and successful thoughts. Right? So your emotional state is really caused by your mental state. So your vibration is really caused by your mental state, but vibration in and of itself is about how you're emotionally feeling. So how you're emotionally feeling is what the universe is responding to primarily about how to shape your life. So that's pretty much it says the emotional state of power, exactly. So one of the very things about this is, and I will definitely get to how do you change your vibration in a second. We're definitely going to talk about that. But one of the things that most people understand, they understand these things. And many of the workshops and many of the series and retreats and books out there talk to you about these two things, about like, how do you, look at your belief system? How do you, use the vision boards and the affirmations and things like that to shift your vibrational state? Because that's really what they're doing. They're helping you shift your vibrational state. But what I'm seeing is that people have been able to either attract what they want. So they want this red car or this new red car, and it's a beautiful car. And they've been able to get that car through some of these tools and some of the things that they're learning in some of these books or these classes. But they're not able to keep it. Something happens where that level of life that they've been wanting and dreaming of, they kind of touch it and then it goes away. Like they'll be in it for a month and then they're kind of right back in the level of living they were right before that thing came, right? So it could be a car, it could be a relationship, it could be a level of money, it could be even a health status. I've worked with many, many people who were facing a dire health status and they were using the law of attraction to try to get this. And this kind of fell, either they got it, they were well, and then a year later they were back sick again. And so there was this cycle thing that I was seeing happen where people were able to attract some things, but they weren't able to sustain a level of life that was higher than the level that they were at before, or that tasted really good to them, right? And it was really delicious to them. So I wanted to address what I had learned in my own personal journey that were really the keys to really unlocking your personal journey with mastering the law of attraction. Because really, as a soul, as a spiritual being having a human experience, you are literally already a master of the law of attraction. That's literally, the law of attraction is literally how the soul is made up. But you've just forgotten a little bit in your human journey through the conversations you've had with people, through what we've been taught in schools when we're children. You've kind of forgotten how things actually work. And so I want to address some of those things. So before I share the first secret, I want to tell you a little bit briefly about my own story and why it even came to understand the law of attraction and understand these particular three secrets. So this part of my story started in 2004. And if you're familiar with me, you'll know this story. If you're not, I'm not going to share it all because I don't have enough time. So I really want to interact with you all. I want to hear what you all have to say. But if you're familiar with me, you already know this story. In January 1st of 2004, I checked into a hospital. I was living in Washington, D.C. at the time. And I checked into a hospital with what I thought was the flu and ended up being told I had 7 days to live. Doctors diagnosed me with kidney failure, pneumonia, pancreatitis, anemia, 20 pounds of overload fluid on my body, a fluid-packed lung, a parasite in my stomach, and if all of that wasn't juicy enough already, they also diagnosed me with AIDS. And they told me that all of those particular things had progressed to a point where they did not think they were going to be able to help me much and that I needed to get my affairs in order. And then they left me in the hospital room. Like they just pretty much said, son, you got about 7 days to live. Here's what's going on. You need to get your affairs in order. And then they left the room. And I was 24 years old at the time. And as I was laying on the hospital bed, I kind of had the kind of, end of your life review. Kind of the what I now understand is kind of the questions we all ask ourselves, the review we all have when we're getting ready to die. And that was, was I ready to go? Was I happy with the life that I had lived? Had I really been my true self? Did I express the love I had in my heart to the people that I really cared about? And had I really fulfilled my dreams? And there were some other questions that I had asked myself that I went through, and the answer to all those was no. Not only was it because I was a young guy, I was 24 at the time, but I was still not loving myself, and I was ashamed of my sexuality, and I was afraid to really pursue my dreams, because what if I failed and all that good stuff. So I was faced with this conundrum of getting ready to die, and although I had already been a student of the law of attraction by this time for several years, and I was already a student of the mind-body-spirit connection. I believed I was a spiritual being having human experience. I wasn't scared of, I didn't believe that death was an end or something scary. I believed that it was a going back to God, if you will, or source, or the wholeness of what I actually was. And I believed that strongly. So I wasn't actually scared of the process of dying. But I was horrified of the fact that I was getting ready to die not having lived. After I looked at all of those questions, all of the answers to that was no, I was not ready to go. I was not happy with the life I had lived. I wasn't happy with, I wasn't being myself in my life, all that good stuff. And so I didn't want to die like that. I wanted it was my time to die, I wanted to be able to say, I had expressed the love in my heart to the people I cared about, and actually to the world. I had been a loving being. I had been my true, authentic self in my life. I had fulfilled the dreams that I held in my heart, or at least I was in motion to fulfilling those dreams. And so I made a decision right there on the deathbed that this was not going to be my time. That this was not going, instead it was going to be the wake-up call for me, but it wasn't going to be my time. And so I began to use everything I knew about the law of attraction for the situation. I had heard that, the law of attraction is the whole basis of you creating your reality. So, beforehand, I had used it to get $5 to eat when I was broke and I needed something to eat at night, or to get a parking space in front of the mall when I was trying to go to the movies and I was running late, small stuff like that. But now I needed to, if it was really real, if we could create whatever you wanted and you created your reality, then I needed to create a miracle, and I needed to create one fast. So I began to throw everything I knew about the law of attraction at this space. I began to do the vision boards. I did the affirmations. I did the positive statements. I did the mirror work. I was a vegan. I did everything that anybody ever said anywhere about creating what you really want. I did it. And I was in the hospital for a month, but 2 months after I got out of the hospital, I was fully recovered. My kidneys were fully functional. Everything else was totally healed, and there was no HIV or AIDS anywhere in my system. They couldn't find it. And I was being called a miracle child. And doctors were baffled. They were writing about me in their medical journals. And life was, I felt really good. Not only was I healthy, but I felt really excited because I was like, wow, you really can create what you really want, and nothing is impossible, and you can create anything. And that was the case until I found myself back in that exact same hospital bed a year later. And I had the exact same diagnosis to the T. And instead of 7 days to live this time, I had 48 hours to live. And so on my deathbed this time, instead of going through all those litany of questions, I really just asked one question, and I asked it to Source, I asked it to God. And I asked God, what is it that you've been trying to get me to know about how to live really well, that I've been trying really hard not to? Because obviously, if I'm still back here in this hospital with this exact same, disease and illness and life-threatening situations, there's something you're trying to get me to be aware of through the state of my body that I'm not aware of. And so at that moment, I had a near-death experience, which many people talk about crossing over to the other side and seeing the light. Instead of actually dying, I had my experience while I was in the room. It's kind of hard to explain, but the same thing with the light and the experience of talking to the divine, talking to Source. And Source said this one thing to me. I remember it as if it was yesterday. When I heard the voice of Source, it said to me, you know a lot about how to try and make something and push something into happening. You know how to press and how to struggle and how to push and how to make it happen, but you don't know shit about how to let it happen. And there's a missing key to that piece. And you're going to learn about that piece, and it's going to be the key to you not just surviving, but thriving. And then my situation was my death experience was over, and I came back into the room. And I knew I had a big wake-up call moment. I was given kind of the opportunity to either I was going to accept this kind of pathway or I was going to transition. And I accepted the pathway. What I didn't know was it was going to be a 10-year-long journey, kind of a spiritual soul masterclass on the missing elements of the law of attraction, the missing elements that we're not talking about. And so I want to share those elements with you right now. But for all of you all, I hope you're still with me. I know that was a little longer than I wanted to share about my personal story about how I got here. But again, this is just my second blab, and I'm blabbing. So hold with me. If you're still with me, please kind of type something cool. I see some of your comments saying, oh, wow, yeah, my personal story is not a small one. But if you're with me, we're going to get to you all here in just a second because I really want to hear from you. But the first particular secret of the missing part in the conversation around the law of attraction is this. Until you can feel enough without it, the universe cannot bring it to you. I'm going to say it again. Until you can feel enough without it, the universe can't bring it to you. So what do I mean by that? So there's a lot of conversation, again, around, when we understand, when a lot of us are trying to, align ourselves with the law of attraction to manifest something that we want. So let's say, let's just use healing since I've been talking about that. So let's say I want to heal and I really want to be well, and I've been chronically ill for a very long time. If I am wanting that particular thing, my health, if I'm wanting the change in my health status because I believe that somehow it makes me more whole or more worthy or more lovable or more enough somehow, and that without it, somehow I'm not enough or something's wrong with me or I'm missing something, I'm lacking something, especially lacking something in the ability to be loved, then what's happening is I am in the pattern of resistance. I'm in the resistance of the truth of my being as a soul. And the universe cannot give me the thing that I want until I feel enough without it. So feeling enough means I'd love to be fully well. I love to be, let's say, going back to use my experience, when I realized that for years, every day, I was like, I'm going to heal this. I'm going to heal my kidneys. I'm going to get this together. I'm going to do this. For years, I was in this space. But when I shifted from that, but when I looked at why I wanted to be well was because I felt unattractive as a quote unquote sick person. I thought telling people I was on dialysis, because I was on dialysis for many of those years the second time. while I was learning what it took to actually really create what you really want and really create health and wellness and a thriving life. I was on dialysis. And I really was I was asking for health and trying to manifest health from this space of not feeling enough without being healthy. I didn't feel attractive enough. I didn't feel like I was deserving enough to kind of do the work that I was doing, which was helping people. I just felt like I was less than in some way unless I was well. And that was a huge thing that kept it from coming. Was the very thing that until I could feel enough without it, until my vibration, going back to vibration, was I am whole and lovable and loved, even if this thing doesn't come for me. Then it can't come. And the reason why it can't come is because we're putting conditions on our happiness. And you are the very definition of unconditional. As the soul, you're love. You're the definition of love. You're unconditional love. And so when you begin to put conditions on yourself and on your life, you begin to kind of close down the channel from which life can flow through you and manifest the things that you want. So health. So for example, relationships. This is a huge one I hear. Somebody wants the love of their life, right? They want their soulmate to come into their life. And we talk about, okay, so do you know what they look like? Do you know what you want them to look like? Do you know how you want to feel with them? Do you know all of that stuff? And they've done all that work, but the person's still not coming. I had a client who for years, she had been single for 18 years. Beautiful woman. And she had done all of the little law of attraction trick. She had written a letter to her proposed partner. She had written out all the characteristics that she wanted of her partner. She had visualized her partner, and it was not coming. She just was not meeting anybody. And so she wanted to know why that was, where was the block? And as we began to kind of talk to her and peel back the layers of the onion there, what I found was she was putting her value and her worthiness on having a relationship. So she did not feel beautiful. She did not feel worthy. She did not feel lovable or loved. And she was looking for that relationship to feel that way. Again, her vibration was, I'm not lovable. I'm unattractive. I'm not wanted. And she was asking the universe to bring her something that will make her feel the opposite of that. And remember what I said in the beginning of this, the universe cannot buck your vibration. This goes back to until you feel enough without it, it can't happen. So the universe can't buck your vibration. So if you feel unlovable and you feel unattractive and you feel undesirable, you cannot attract a situation that makes you feel desired and lovable and beautiful and attractive. You cannot do it. You have to feel that way first before you can begin to live that way. You got to feel that way first before you can live that way. And so before I continue on in this a little bit, I want to repeat it. The first one is until you can feel enough without it, the universe can't give it to you. And I want to open a seat here. And so if any of you who are in attendance, I see some of you all here have typed some things. If you have a question or if you want to just be on the call and you have a comment that you want to have about this first secret, which until you feel enough without it, the universe can't give it to you. I'd love to hear from you. The seat is open, I believe. I believe that's how you open the seat here. Again, this is my second blab, everybody. I'm still learning. Yeah, there we go. So if you want to join in on this conversation, please unlock the seat there. The seat is unlocked. You can just press that and that'll let me know that you want to join, and I'll unlock the seat for you and have a conversation for you. For the rest of you all, if you have a question about that, about what I've just shared about until you can feel enough without it, the universe can't give it to you, please type something in the box here. Excellent question. So Black Enigma is asking me, how can you get rid of negative emotions to open up to positive thoughts? So the first thing to do is, one thing I teach is you don't want to be at war with yourself. And I think a lot of times when in the conversation, in the languaging, we say get rid of negative thoughts or fight them or block them, because anything that you resist must persist. That's actually another law. That's a part of the law of attraction. If you're resisting something, if you're pushing against something, you're actually adding energy to it, and the universe doesn't actually hear no. So when we fight our negative thoughts, we actually are creating more of them. There's just more going to come. So what I like to do, instead of fighting or trying to rid myself of negative thoughts, I look at how can I add in more positive thoughts throughout my day? How can I add more affirming thoughts? So what is a positive thought? A positive thought is a thought that makes you feel good when you think it. You feel expanded, you feel relieved, you feel relaxed, and you feel more at ease when you're thinking this thought. So for instance, if I have a thought and I'm in the mirror and I think, wow, Jerome, you've gained 5 pounds. You really didn't hold to your workout this week. You shouldn't have eaten that piece of pizza last night. I can feel that doesn't feel good. I can almost feel myself kind of shrinking a little bit, maybe not massively, but just a small amount. And so I already know those are not positive thoughts for me to be thinking right now. Those are not thoughts that are leading me in the direction to manifesting what I really want, which is a beautiful, healthy, fit body, right? So instead of thinking those thoughts, and I can be aware that those are thoughts and how they're feeling, I want to switch over into thoughts that make me feel more empowered and expanded. So I can stop and say, okay, what's the thought? And I can ask myself, catch yourself in the midst of a negative thought and ask your thought, what's a thought I can think right now that feels better? You can say that out loud if you can. If you're in a public space, you can whisper that. What's the thought I can think that makes me feel better right now? And so if I'm in the mirror and I've just been beating up on myself, I've noticed that maybe I've gained 5 pounds. I can say, instead of, beating up on myself, I can say, you know what? I know what to do to get this weight off. It won't take me that long. It's okay. I had fun getting here. The pizza I ate yesterday was delicious. And I know I can get more in alignment with my workout program. And I know what to do. This won't take long. It's not that big of a problem. I still look great and I can still fit in my clothes and everything's going well, right? That, just even me talking about that now, feels more relief. It feels more relaxing. It feels more expansive, right? So I've stopped myself in the train of the negative thought and I've began to add in more positive thoughts. What my highest recommendation for you is you've got to start the train of positive thinking in the morning. First thing when you get up. Because I believe that how you start your day is how you live your day. And how you live your day is how you live your life. So you've got to start the positive train of thinking in the morning. So as soon as your feet hit when you get out of the bed and your feet hit the floor, can you say something positive about yourself? Can you say, good morning, Jerome? If it was me, one of the things I do is I say, good morning, Jerome. What wonderful things are we going to get into today? And then I'll go to the mirror and I'll tell myself 10 things I really celebrate or I really like about myself. You're a really good speaker, Jerome. You're doing really well with your workout program. Or I'm really happy with, how well you handled that situation yesterday. Or you got that blog finished that you wanted to write. Something. How can you tell yourself something? It don't have to be huge. It can be the smallest of things to celebrate yourself and get your mindset in the process of positive thinking. Appreciation and gratitude is a huge way of making a shift from something negative into something positive. You just do that alone. If when you catch yourself thinking something negative and you think about something that you can be grateful for or something that you appreciate or you celebrate in your life, something that's working well, huge shift right there. Right there. Instead of what's wrong here or what's wrong with my life, what's wrong with your life, what's wrong with the situation, if I can stop right in the middle of that and say, what's going well in my life? Can I list just 3 things? What are 3 things going well in my life? That'll be a shift. Just little shifts throughout the day. Again, I'm not fighting my negative thoughts. I'm looking to add in more positive thoughts as much as I can throughout the day. And that's kind of how you do that. Hope that helped you, Black Enigma. If any of you all have any questions, I see some more people have joined in. We've already shared the first secret, which is until you feel enough without it, the universe cannot give it to you. And if any of you all want to join in, please, there's an open seat here. You can join in, and I'd love to hear your experiences with the law of attraction or your experiences with some of the things that I'm sharing. So the first one was until you can feel enough. without the universe can't give it to you. The second one is kind of a joint in. They kind of go hand in hand, the first and the second one. And that one is, you don't attract what you want, you attract who you are. You don't attract what you want, you really attract who you're being. And so, again, a lot of the law of attraction teachers are teaching you, just what do you want? Like, write it down and visualize it and put it on the vision board. And, again, so many of my clients come to me and they've had these vision boards for 25 years and nothing, maybe one or two things have happened on those vision boards instead of all of them. And I don't have my vision. I wish I had one of my vision boards close to me. I don't want to have to get up and go get it. So I'll show it to you next time. But the majority of the things that I usually put on my vision board come true for me. Because, again, I know these particular secrets and I operate them in my life. But this one is really heavily important. You don't attract what you want. You attract who you're being, who you are. That goes back to what your vibration is. So I may want to be a multimillionaire. I may want to be highly successful, and I may want to be fit, and I may want to, be in an awesome relationship or whatever. But if I'm not being the person that, if I'm not vibrating a match to that, it can't come. Remember, the universe cannot buck. The universe cannot buck your vibration. So if you're sending a vibration, it can't buck who you're being. So if I'm going through my life and I am feeling and living and behaving and expressing as a person who doesn't have enough money, as a person who is not viewed as highly attractive, as a person who's not fit, then the universe can't change my life experiences until I begin to vibrate like that. And you've got to vibrate like that before anything changes. This is a huge piece to this. You've got to vibrate. You've got to find the frequency of that experience before that experience comes, before it comes. So I may not have, some people will say, well, I love to vibrate like a millionaire, but I have $5 in my bank account. Right? Or, I'd love to vibrate as, somebody fit and beautiful and all of that, but I'm 100 pounds overweight, right? And so how is that even possible, right? So here's how you do that. It's what I like to call try on the role and don't break character. Try on the role and don't break character. So one of the things about me, I'm an actor. I've done Hollywood films. I've done Broadway, off-Broadway. I've done all of that. And as an actor, there's something that we do as actors called character studies, which if you get a script and you find out that you're playing a certain character. So when scripts come, they really are really skeletons. The script is a real skeleton. It doesn't give you a lot of information about your character. It tells you pretty much what they said and where they are and, kind of how they walk into the scene. And that's pretty much it. They don't tell you really who that person is, how that character is, how they be. That's up to the actor to create all of that. So when you go to a movie and you see kind of, a character, let's say you see Meryl Streep, one of my favorite actresses of all time, playing a character, and she gives you all these nuances behind the character. You can know who that character is. You kind of feel that you have a history behind that character. It's because she did a character study on that character. And what a character study is you kind of talk to yourself about, okay, how does this person, in the script it says my character works at a bank and is getting ready to participate in a bank robbery, right? And that's kind of all you know about your character. So you're going to look at, why would my character want to rob a bank? Especially the one they're working at. Like, what's the history of, and you make up this history. Like, how does my character feel? How do they operate throughout the day? What is their favorite food? How do they move through the day? How do they speak? What time do they go to the gym? All of that, you make up all of that because that helps you become that character. The more you know about them and how they feel and how they think and how you think they would think and how you think they would speak, it helps you become that person. This is a huge key to manifesting the life of your dreams. The key is Again, try on the role and don't break character. So if you know, let's say for instance that you want to have, let's say you want an extra $80,000. Let's just say that by next year, you want to have an extra $80,000. Do a character study on yourself, on the version of you that already has the $80,000. And how are you moving through life? What kind of thoughts do you think now with that money? How do you feel? That's the most important part. How do you feel? How does the $80,000 Richard Jerome feel? How does the Jerome that's healed the disease that his doctor said he'd never heal from, how does he feel? You know, that was one of the main things I did that got me back to my wellness again the second time. That got me to fully healing my body was, instead of worrying about, you know, what I need to eat and all that stuff, I said, what does the version of Jerome who's already healed and fully well, how does he live his life and how does he feel? Well, one thing I knew from that was that Jerome was happy. He was engaging in the things he really wanted to do and he wasn't embarrassed. He really woke up excited because he felt really empowered. And so I knew that every day I needed to try on that role of the healed Jerome. And I didn't need to break character. So I would walk through my day feeling empowered. I would think empowering thoughts. I would have empowering conversations. I would feel healed already. I would go through my day as if I was healed already, even if I was still on dialysis, even if nothing had changed in the readouts or the test results. In my mind and in the character I was playing in my daily life, Jerome was already healed. And he was going through his life as if he was already healed. And I'd go home and I'd get on the computer because I knew if I was healed, because one thing I couldn't do a lot on dialysis, I couldn't travel a lot. Because it was like all this red tape you had to go through with traveling. And dialysis makes you really tired. And it's like, you know, I had to go to dialysis 3 days a week for 4 hours each time. It took a big chunk out of my day. And after I got off dialysis, all I wanted to do was go to sleep. So I knew one of the things that the healed Jerome would do was he was going to travel more. So every day I would get on the computer for 15 minutes and I would look at places I wanted to travel to. And I would just pretend like I was booking those places. I would look at the hotel. I would call them and say, so can you tell me about the amenities of this hotel? I was playing the character of the healed Jerome. And I was offering that vibration of being already healed. I was feeling empowered. I began to do things that made me feel happy. I began to, you know, maybe I couldn't do everything that I wanted because I didn't have enough energy, but whatever I could do that made me feel happy, I did that. I tried on the role, and every day I would start my day with that, and I'd end my day in that character. And it was not, when I started to do that, it was not, I'd say it wasn't even 6 weeks before I healed again after I started doing that, miraculously. I had been on dialysis for at least 8 years before that, trying everything that everybody, the vision boards, all of that, nothing. The second I started to act as if and didn't break character, things started shifting like that. So, you know, that was that's the second secret, you know, that you don't attract what you want, you attract who you're being. So look at who you're being right now. So if you have a list of things that you want, is who you're being in your day a match to already having that? Not to the person who wants that, who doesn't have it and is dreaming and is asking for it, but the person who already has that. Because if you're showing up as that person right now, then you're being that person, and you're going to attract more into your life that matches that state of being, matches that frequency that you're giving off. That's a huge key. That's a huge tip. Act as if. That's pretty much what we're talking about. Act as if. Try on the role and don't break character. So secret number 1, until you can feel enough without it, the universe can't give it to you. Secret number 2, you don't attract what you want. You attract who you're being. And the third secret is nothing in your life is going to work at its best. You're not going to attract the highest desires you want. You're definitely not going to be able to keep them. Your relationships won't work at their best. Your health won't work at its best. Your work won't work at its best. Your money won't work at its best. Nothing will work at its best until you love yourself unconditionally. This is probably one of the biggest keys that I find that is left out of the conversation of the law of attraction is the key of loving yourself. And I want to talk to you a little bit here in a second about what it actually means to love yourself, because so many people talk about loving yourself, and we have about 15 more minutes on this blab, and I want to just give you some key points into what it actually means to love yourself. But again, I want to give you a chance. If you want to come into the hot seat, I know there are some of you on the call. If you want to come into this hot seat, please open the seat. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on what I've shared today, or anything that you think I haven't shared today that should be part of the secret. Also, I have some questions here. So if anybody wants to open seat, please click on that. And then I'd like to kind of answer some questions here I have here. So Daily Grind Fit asks, what are some tips on staying present-minded throughout the day? I'm going to give you my number one tip, actually. This is a huge tip. So, I'm a huge believer and teacher and practicer of meditation, right? But one thing about regular meditation, which is, you sit for 10 to 15 minutes or 20 or 30 minutes, however you want, in silence and in deep breathing and instilling your mind as much as possible. All that is a very positive method, and I practice it myself daily. I don't leave my house without meditation. One thing I find is that, so you meditate in the morning, because I meditate when I get up in the morning. So I meditated at 6 a.m. or so, but I still have the whole rest of my day. And yes, my meditation keeps me centered for about 3 to 4 hours, and then my day starts, right? And so all this stuff starts to happen, and then I can find myself kind of just on this kind of roller coaster again of emotions and thoughts. So one thing that I love is called the 1 minute meditation. And if you'll do this, I promise you, if you would just commit to doing this for 30 days, you will have a huge shift in and feeling present, and also a huge shift in being more aware of your thoughts and being able to add more positive thoughts in. So how the 1 minute meditation goes is this. For 6 times throughout the day, I like to do it either every 2 hours or like every 90 minutes, or you can do it every hour if you want to. But you want to do it, it's kind of 6 minutes. You can add more than 6 minutes if you want. But for 6 times throughout the day, you want to take 10 seconds. And if you do a timer for, let's say, it goes off every 90 minutes. When the timer goes off, you stop what you're doing. You close your eyes. You still your mind, and you breathe deeply for just 10 seconds. And then you come out. And what you'll find is it's a break. It's a shift right in the day. If you would just stop and still your mind and breathe for 10 seconds, it will shift everything. You'll bring yourself right back into the present moment. And what you'll find the more you do this is you'll get guidance in that 10 seconds. You'll hear your soul guide you on something. If you've not been clear on the direction you've been wanting to go in your life, or how to manifest something, or you have a challenge that you've been looking for a solution for, you'll find that even in that 10-second time, you're going to start to hear some solutions. You're going to get some clarity. And most importantly, you're going to bring yourself back to a more mindful and present mode. All it takes is 10 seconds, 6 times a day. And if you do it 6 times a day, you've done it for a minute. It didn't have to be 30 minutes like a lot of people teach in meditation, or 15 minutes. It was 1 minute, and it will shift your entire life. But don't take my word for it. Do it for yourself. The 60-second or the 1 minute meditation. 10 seconds, 6 times a day. I suggest, an hour to 90 minutes out. Hope that helps you. Daily Grind Fit. And actually, if you do that, I would love to hear back maybe a week later. If you can kind of just tweet me or something and let me know, hey, Jerome, this is kind of how this worked for me. That would be awesome, because I love hearing how people who do that, how that shifts their lives. So yeah, I want to go back to loving ourselves here in the next kind of about 10 minutes. So I want to talk about what loving yourself actually means. There are so many teachers out there who talk about loving yourself. And again, like I said, I think of all the secrets, the biggest key to unlocking the power of the law of attraction in your life. The law of attraction is working in your life, whether you're aware of it or not. Whether you're consciously working with it or not, everything that's showing up in your life is showing up because of the law of attraction. Everything you have in your life is there because of the law of attraction. So it's not that I'm teaching you how to start the law of attraction in operation in your life. What I'm teaching you here are the secrets to becoming more consciously deliberate, to using the law of attraction to your benefit on a conscious and on a more consistent and conscious basis. So the biggest piece to that, to me, is to love yourself, to really do that. Because here's the truth. Until you learn to love yourself, nothing in your life is going to work well. But I'm not talking about just I give myself a hug, or I get a massage today, or I took myself to get a mani-pedi today. There are 3 elements to loving yourself that if you can get these 3 elements, you will unlock the very key to delicious living in your life. This is not a philosophy for me. This is not a big grand metaphor. I'm speaking absolute spiritual truth. If you can practice consistently these 3 elements of loving yourself, your entire life will unlock, and it will raise to a level that you never even believed was possible for you. So the first part of loving yourself, again, I'm going to give you the 3 biggest elements of loving yourself. The first part of loving yourself is you've got to stop making yourself wrong. You've got to stop making anything about yourself or your life wrong. So that means you got to stop judging yourself. You got to stop looking at yourself and thinking, this should be different, or when this gets better, I'll be lovable, or I'll be enough, or I'll be deserving. You've got to stop making yourself wrong and start making everything about you perfectly enough. Perfectly enough. Now, we have to do a whole nother blab on actually how you do these 3 things, because that's a long conversation. But I want to give you the elements of them. So the first one, stop making yourself wrong and start making yourself perfectly enough. Stop judging yourself and stop comparing yourself. Comparison is the highest form of violence that you can do against yourself as a soul. It is the highest form of violence. When you begin to say, my life, why isn't my life like that person's over there? Why doesn't my body look like that person's over there? Why isn't my wealth like that person's over there? You begin to say, I'm not enough because I'm not like that. And that's so opposite of the truth of what your soul knows. Your soul knows you are completely enough. You're just not thinking, and you're not feeling enough yet. So that's the first thing. You've got to stop making yourself wrong. You got to stop making your life wrong. So you are enough. You do enough. You have enough. If you can start doing whatever you can now to help you start practice that, one of the main things you can do is keep a gratitude journal and an appreciation journal, writing in it daily. 20 things I appreciate about myself, that are going really well about myself, and that I'm grateful for about myself. That will help you do that. That will help you start the shift. Okay? That's number 1. Number 2, you've got to stop betraying yourself. Actually, let me go back. I want to talk to you a little bit about why that's important to the law of attraction. So anytime you begin to judge yourself and you compare yourself, what you begin to do is you close your energy down. So, as a soul, you're made of energy. You're an energetic being. We already talked about frequency. We already talked about vibration, and that's what the universe is responding to. So when you begin to judge yourself and you begin to say something about you is less than, and something about you is not enough, and something about you is wrong, you are literally poisoning the energy of your body. And so the energy of the universe, the life is not happening to you, it's happening through you. You're like a funnel. And so you're like a funnel, and the universe, the source, or God pours through you and shapes life through you. And when you begin to say, I'm not enough and I'm less than, that if you imagine a funnel closing down like this, closing down, getting smaller and 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 smaller like that. And so not much can come through. You can never completely close it off, because if you completely close it off, you have to die. It's transition. So if you're alive, then you're not completely closed off, but you can be pretty well pinched off there to where only a little bit of source energy is coming through you. And so that's what happens when you start to judge yourself and compare yourself. That's why that's the key to the law of attraction. The more you're affirming yourself, the more you're celebrating yourself, and the more you're appreciating yourself, the more you are in alignment with the truth of who you are as a divine being, as a soul, and the higher you're vibrating. Remember, we talked about it's all about frequency and vibration. So the more you feel enough, again, when you begin to feel enough, the universe can finally give it to you. The more you begin to celebrate yourself, the more you raise your vibration and the more things come to you. The more you judge yourself and compare yourself, the lower you lower that vibration. And that's when the crappy stuff starts to come. That's when you attract crap and you attract shitty experiences and painful experiences. Okay. So that's why number 1 is important. Number 2 is stop betraying yourself and start honoring yourself and living in integrity with yourself. So this is about like, are you speaking your truth? Are you living your truth? Are you following your joy and doing what you really want to do? Or are you living your life on somebody else's terms? Are you being your authentic, true self? Or are you dimming your light because you don't want to offend somebody, or you're scared about what they think, or you think they're going to reject you, right? And so the second thing about loving yourself is to be yourself and to honor yourself by living your truth, saying what you need to say, saying what you want to say, following your joys, allowing yourself to follow your dreams and do what makes you come most alive and do what you really want to do. And also stop saying yes to everything, especially, to have a relationship with saying no. That if I don't want to do that, it's a no. And that no is a complete sentence, right? It doesn't need another explanation. No is a complete sentence. So the reason why this is important to the law of attraction, to you, to manifesting a really juicy, delicious life. 1, because the universe highly rewards those who are living their truth, and it doesn't to those who aren't. For those individuals, if you want to see who are living a juicy life, they have amazing relationships, they have the money, they have life they really love, they're happy, because people can have money and they can have relationships and not be happy, right? So the people that are happy and joyous, they're people who are living their truth. There are people who are speaking their truth. They're following their joy. They have a relationship with saying no. Because when you do that, you're in alignment with yourself. And when you betray yourself, when you're in relationships that don't empower you and don't expand you, and you don't want to be in anymore, but you keep staying in them, when you're not speaking your truth, for many years as a gay person, I hid that. I hid that I was a gay man because I was embarrassed. I thought that something was wrong with me because that was the messaging that I got as a child. And that's a whole other conversation. I promise we'll get into that in another blab. But that was a whole thing. So, what ends up happening when you're not living in alignment with yourself, you're living in resistance to yourself, and that's where blockages come through. So just if you think about like the flow of source energy, the flow of God energy, like the blood in your body, and like the blood in your body, in order to be completely healthy, for everything to work at its best and to be optimal working, the blood in your body needs to have free-flowing, passages. Your veins need to be open. There don't need to be any blockages like, high cholesterol or anything like that. And when blockages start to happen, that's when things start to shut down, right? And many health professionals, especially holistic health professionals and practitioners, will tell you almost every illness in the body is from some blockage. It's from some imbalance in the body that's caused by a blockage. And that is the same thing that goes for your life. If your life is not going smoothly and not going well and does not taste good for you, I can promise you there's a blockage there. There's an imbalance there. And it has something to do with one of the things I do with my clients all the time is I ask them, one of the first things we get into is, where are you betraying yourself? That's an awesome question to ask yourself at home. Where am I betraying myself? Get a piece of paper. At the top of that piece of paper, write out, where am I betraying myself? And be really honest with yourself. Any place that I'm not really happy, that I don't feel like I'm being myself fully, that I don't feel really alive, and that I'm feeling like my soul is expanding, is a place I'm really betraying myself. Because when I'm in alignment with myself, I feel expanded, I feel empowered, I feel happy, and I feel like I'm being the full expression of who I really am in that space of my life. And when you do that, again, your vibration is raised. There's no blockage, and the fullness of spirit is flowing through you. So again, that's why that's highly important to the law of attraction. The other and the last piece of that about loving yourself is stop scaring the shit out of yourself and start trusting yourself and start trusting in life and surrender. Huge piece. Because here's a piece of loving yourself that a lot of people don't talk about. A piece of loving yourself is allowing yourself to be loved. Now, we talk about allowing ourselves to be loved by other people. I want you to put into your consciousness that loving yourself is the ability to let yourself be loved by life itself. The ability to let yourself be loved by the universe, to prove to yourself that you deserve to be in the light. So stop scaring yourself, chill yourself, and trust, surrender, and bring your entire self into the light. So if there's anything that you're hiding, I see some of your awesome stuff here. Yes, surrender is a huge one for people. I'm actually, I think one of the next, if not the next one, the blab that I'm going to do after this one is going to be on the process of and practice of surrender. Because here's the thing, I promise you, there are two things in the world that I have seen always lead to a miracle. I've not seen it not be the case in my life or in people I've worked with. It may be the case somewhere else, but I've never seen it in my life. There are two things that have always led to a miracle. One is when somebody has fully forgiven. When they've fully forgiven everyone for everything, miracles begin to show up in their lives. The second thing is when they fully surrender. And you know when you fully surrender when you're at peace. Surrender always, the end result of surrender is always peace. So that's how you know you surrender. When you are at peace around that situation. And you don't need anything about that situation to change for you to be at peace. So yes, I hear you. The majority of us do have an issue with surrender. I promise you we'll talk about that. Yes, definitely surrender to what is. It brings the greatest peace. Exactly. When you no longer have to ask yourself, when you surrender, have I surrendered? That's when you surrendered. Again, you know when you surrender because you're at peace. You can think about that situation. You can be in that situation, and there's nothing about you that's requiring it to change. That's how you know you surrendered. Reading some other stuff. Yeah, you cannot please everyone. You never will, by the way. That just does not happen. And it's a world of hurt if you're in that space of always trying to please everybody. Great comment, Matt. Yep. Yes, you have attracted all the drama and the negative energy. You know, that's one of the things about understanding who you are as a spiritual being. You are the full creator of your life. This is the most uncomfortable thing to accept in the beginning, is that everything that's here in my life right now is a direct reflection of who I'm being. Everything that's here right now is a direct reflection of who I'm currently being. It's not a judgment. It's not saying something. Again, nothing is wrong with me. It's just a reflection of who I'm being, and it gives me an opportunity to tune that. So if I don't like what's in my life right now, I don't need to fight my life. I need to take a deeper look within and raise my vibration. Okay? So, oh, yes, forgiveness does not always, I love this one by the Daily Grind Fit, to forgive but not let the thing or person back into your life. So one thing about forgiveness is forgiveness does not mean that, some people belong in your heart but not in your life. They belong in your heart but not in your life. Forgiveness means you offer them love and you do not offer any conditions to your love anymore. That you don't need that situation to change in order for you to love them, to express the energy of love towards them and towards yourself, and that you free yourself from the top. It does not mean that you have space to my life anymore, because one of the things about it I may have learned from that situation is that I need to love you from afar, right? So that's a great point about forgiveness. So on the last thing, if you're hiding something, it could be your sexuality. It could be something about your life. It doesn't have to be anything like that. It could be something very like you feel like something about you needs to be hidden. Then you're keeping yourself from receiving all the good that the universe has for you. You have to bring your whole self to the light. Because when you bring your whole self to the light, that's when the light proves it to you, proves that you've always belonged there, right? So I want to share a really quick story before we close about this last one about stop scaring the shit out of yourself and start trusting, surrendering, and bringing your entire self to the light. So a few weeks ago, I did a I had an event of a night of mediumship, intuitive readings, and spiritual teachings. And I had it, I was going to be working with a joint spiritual teacher and psychic medium. It was my first time working with this person. This person had reached out to me and wanted to do an event with me together. And I was really excited. This person was really a fun person, had a huge following. And when they came, we did it here. I'm in Oklahoma City, by the way. So they came and flew into Oklahoma City to have this event. And when they came into Oklahoma City, I noticed that there were some things about them that they hadn't told me. One, they hadn't told me that they needed a wheelchair to move around throughout the day. And they hadn't told me that they had cerebral palsy. That was kind of something that they did not discuss with me. Now, this is not something small. This is something big because this affects how I need to have them, like the room situation. I need to have them in the home. It needs to be handy accessible, and was not prepared for that. They weren't going to be able to set up the room, the event space with me as I had planned. I had this whole setup, but now instead of 2 people helping out, it was going to be 1 person, and so I was just was like, wow, I wonder why they didn't share that with me. And as this person was staying with me, instead of a hotel, we wanted to get to know each other. We wanted to kind of build, our friendship together. So I asked them to stay in my home. And as the kind of weekend went around, I could tell that this person felt embarrassed about it, and they were hiding it. They weren't telling. I thought they weren't telling people about the situation. They weren't very forthcoming about the situation. And we had a conversation about it. The day before they were leaving, I said, your life is not going to break open. It's not going to be as delicious as you want it to be until you can fully come into the light and you can be fully honest and live your truth. And this is a part of your truth, that you have cerebral palsy and that you walk with a cane and that you really need to be using a wheelchair for most of the time. It's part of your truth. It doesn't make you less than. It doesn't make you less lovable. But if you hide it, you're never going to get the fullness. One, you'll never attract the people to you that will love you just as you are and celebrate you just as you are. And you'll keep yourself from receiving the good the universe has for you. Because when you hide your light, this is what you're really doing. When you hide your light, then what happens is the universe is knocking on your door with all the stuff that you asked for and all the juicy good stuff that will break your life wide open. But you're not home because you're trying to live in somebody else's house. You're not living in your own house. You're living in somebody else's house who doesn't have cerebral palsy. You're trying to be over there, right? And when all the good stuff always comes to your home. So we had this conversation, and it kind of he had this big awakening moment, and he went home and he wrote this amazing blog post where he shared pictures of his legs, which he had never done before, and pictures of his wheelchair. And he talked about his journey with cerebral palsy, and he just pretty much came out. Really, it was like, instead of coming out as a gay person, he came out as a person that was dealing with cerebral palsy. And the amount of love he received was ridiculous. It was like oceans of just waves of responses coming in. People saying, oh my God, how can I help you? How can I'd like to donate to you. I've always loved you. You're beautiful. You never need to hide this. And all this love that he was always searching for before, by hiding it, that he thought was unavailable to him, came rushing in the very second he stepped into the light. And that's what I found time and time and time again. When we bring our full selves into the light, no matter what we're hiding, again, I used to hide my sexuality. I also used to hide my spirituality. I grew up in a very traditional Christian church. And after I had my near-death experience, my whole, experience with God expanded and it changed beyond religion. But I was horrified to tell my mother, and I was horrified to tell my mother that I was an intuitive, or which some people will say is a psychic. I was horrified to tell those things because I thought they were going to reject me. But again, I wasn't living in the light. And when I did bring it to the light, that's when my life began to break open. That's when everybody began to love me even more, moving closer. So again, the key to living the law of attraction, the biggest key is to learn to love yourself. It's to stop making yourself wrong, stop betraying yourself, and stop scaring the shit out of yourself. And move yourself into the light. Move yourself into an alignment and integrity with yourself, and start celebrating and appreciating who you really are. I hope that that's a really good question. How do you do this after abuse? One thing about loving yourself that I want people to understand very clearly is this is a practice, this is a daily practice, and it doesn't end. So you're not going to wake up tomorrow morning and be a master at it. It's baby steps, baby steps, baby steps. And to celebrate the steps. You know, one thing I think a lot of times, especially for people who have experienced some type of trauma or abuse, a lot of times we tend to be hard on ourselves. We tend to want to be up here, and we can definitely get up there. But the journey is kind of a step-by-step journey instead of like a springboard leap to up there. And we feel like if we haven't leaped up there, then we start to beat ourselves up. And this is the thing about loving yourself, is to offer yourself huge doses of compassion. To begin to treat yourself and to speak to yourself like you would a hurt child, a wounded child, right? You would not, if a child was hurt, you'd be very careful. You'd be speaking to them very lovingly, very softly. You'd be very gentle with them, and you'd be very patient with them. And that's what you want to be with yourself. You want to start there with gentleness and kindness, and know that it's not all going to happen tomorrow. And that you're not, although the abuse happened, you are not the abuse. You are not the event that happened. You are the soul that experienced the event and will grow because of the event. And how you grow is up to you. But you have, and you will grow, and you already have grown. But you are not that event, and it has not lessened you. It has not taken anything away from you. It's like if you were a $100 bill, and I crumpled that dollar bill up, right, violently, right here. And I crumpled it and I mashed it. It's still $100. I can still take it to the bank and get $100 worth of stuff. I can go shopping with that $100 bill. It has not changed its value one bit. And so that event that happened to you has not changed your value. It has not changed your beauty. And it has not changed your lovability. And it definitely has not changed your worthiness or your ability to deserve. But the work of loving yourself is to tell yourself that daily. To remind yourself of that daily, that this event has not changed anything about my value or my desirability or my lovability or my worthiness. It has not changed me. So it has not changed the core of me, of who I really am. I am a soul, and I am beyond anything that can happen to me in this body. So thank you all for attending. This was such a juicy bit. Next time, I hope you all will join me in the hot seat. I call it the hot seat, but it's the open seat. And I will be scheduling a blab probably once a week. Probably the next conversation we may have, it'll either be on surrender or the practice of forgiveness, as I saw a lot of you all had questions on that. So we'll talk about that. But again, thank you so much for being here. On Twitter, I'm at Jerome Braggs. On Facebook, it's facebook.com/Coach Jerome Braggs. That's /CoachJeromeBraggs. I'll put the link here into the comments. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your awesome questions. I hope you got some, I hope I was able to shed some light for you all on the 3 secrets they're still not telling you on living the law of attraction. There will be a replay to this if you want to go back over this and listen to this. And in the future, we'll go in depth in each one of these. But thank you for being here. Thank you for all that you offered and all that you brought. Thank you so much, Black Ignitive, saying this is awesome. And for Matt Palk, I'm so glad the dollar bill analogy helps you. Thank you, Daily Grind Fit, for saying the wisdom. Thank you so much. Thank you all for your questions. You all were awesome tonight. And I hope to see you soon. I'm going to post the stuff right now before I close the blab down. So here's my Twitter information, guys. I'm putting it in the comments. And here is my Facebook information. It's me all day on each one of those things. I'm the one posting on Twitter and responding on Twitter. I'm also the one posting on Facebook and responding on Facebook. I post articles and blogs and videos and all kinds of stuff on that. And I have live events and retreats as well. My website is not yet out. I'm working on that. It should be out in about a week or two. So stay, tuned for that announcement as well. But thank you so much for staying up with me in this late evening and talking about how to live more in alignment with the law of attraction. I love you all. I'm sending positive, high vibrating energy your way. And if I can help you in any way, please feel free to reach out. Much, much love. And until next time, live deliciously. Bye.